Nothing Personal starts in 30 seconds. It's just business. This is Nothing Personal.
Here you go. Here you go.
Brrrr. That's the Nothing Personal word of the day. It's the feeling of the day. Yes, it's cold out there, folks. It's cold. Guess what? It's winter meetings time. It's my favorite time of year. That's not true. I say that all the time, thinking you'll forget. Winter can't be my favorite time. I prefer warmer weather. Baseball's descending upon Dallas. The winter meetings in Dallas. I've had a bit of a verklempt tear in my eye thinking back to my most memorable winter meetings, which were 2011 in Dallas. Same location where we were the bells of the ball, and it didn't mean a thing. That was the beginning of me realizing that winning the winter meetings doesn't matter, and we'll be doing lists of winners and losers and who signed who and who's going where, who made the best deals of the winter meetings, the worst deals of the winter meetings, winning the off season. Andrew Friedman, I want to get it done now and not in July. You go to the winter meetings. This is great. You go in, side note, Coco, quick winter meeting story. You go and check in, and your head is always on a swivel because you always feel important when you're going to the winter meetings because you're with the big league team, or you're the president of a team, or the GM of a team, or the VP of player personnel. The managers are there. The sports psychologists are there. The trainers. Everyone's having their meetings. The traveling secretary has to get there a day early to set up the suite, make sure there's the right drinks and the right food, the right space. The suites are assigned by seniority, so it's very political. Who's been in the job longer gets the biggest suite for his team, I would say, or her team, but it's for his team at the moment. You check in, looking around. Is anyone looking? Where's the media? Media's there. Try to pretend that you don't see them, but you do. Speak to your PR guys who are with you, setting times that you're going to speak to the media, talking to your team president. What are we going to say today? All right, we got the 10 things. Let's get the chalkboard ready. Then Sunday comes. Everyone's in. You do a dinner the first night. You get down to real business on Monday. You plan on which teams you're going to talk to, which deals you want to work on, which agents you're going to meet. Meanwhile, the agents come with their minions of people selling players. It's like an exchange. It's like a human fish market. There's bidding on players. The big-time players don't come to the winter meetings. They're not involved in the meetings. You're dealing with agents at that point. There are some players who like to go, like to be a part of it. They may be segueing into a front office role, or they're sort of middle-of-the-road free agents who want to make sure that they're not forgotten, which they always are. Got a bunch of people running around with their resumes trying to get jobs. You've got your own minor league affiliates who want to make sure you visit with them because it's the minor league winter meetings. That's how this all started. But at the end, you're really just there as another week of your off season, as another reason to travel, get away from home, check into a hotel for a couple days, and feel important. And I was guilty as anyone of that feeling, walking through the winter meetings. There's a picture that came up once on the Intergoogle of our owner and myself walking through the winter meetings, being followed by an entire group of media as we were negotiating with Albert Pujols. And we were just walking through with our jackets in Dallas. I'm sure you can find it somewhere on the Google. Not that anything on the Google is true, but that picture happens to be from Dallas. Then you think you're getting a player. You don't get a player. That was the 2011 winter meetings. Thought we were getting Pujols. Didn't. And decided to go to the Anaheim Angels. It's just funny to me because this year we're obsessed with Juan Soto, totally obsessed with him. Last year, everyone was obsessed with Shohei Ohtani. Aaron Judge, total obsession. Every year there is a new free agent obsession because the agents prepare the owners for the next generational obsession. It is so difficult not to get wrapped up in the moment of these free agents. And it's so easy to forget that there's just going to be another guy next year, every year. So which bet are you going to make? Are you going to make the Soto bed, the Ohtani bed? Can you make both beds? I remember the opening speech that we would give, our president of baseball ops would give one because we had a large contingent of people in the winter meetings, at the winter meetings. And we would say, listen, guys, we've got a few of you assigned to work the lobby. Go down to the lobby, talk to the writers, talk to the other scouts, talk to the other people who were just hanging out at the bar, getting hammered and played piano, and find me some information on some players that are not on our list. The rest of us, let's formulate our list of our top targets that we've been working on since last offseason, meaning since the end of last season throughout this offseason. So since October, the list of possible targets that fit into our payroll. And here's our payroll, and we hand it out. Don't show it to anyone. And in the payroll number, we would have slots, starter 4, 8 million, closer 2, infielder, third baseman, whatever your holes are. You have a slot, then you've got names associated with that slot, and then with those names are the numbers of their market value. Like the Astros just made an offer to Alex Bregman. They offered him, I think, 8 years, $156 million. And of course, Boris gets it out there. No, it takes $200 million. You go in and offer a player below what is on your payroll, what is on your piece of paper that you carry with you. You've got to have room to negotiate. There's going to be back and forth, and you've got to give agents a win that they can bring to their players, because agents are that important in selling the deal that you are offering to their player. If you feel as though you're not making progress, you can go right to the player. Agents don't like it. I've done it. Make sure they understand what it is you're offering. I love all of the Juan Soto leaks. We got a research pack from CBS yesterday. Getting ready. What's your schedule? We're hearing Juan Soto any day now. John Heyman, who we know, John Heyman is a insider, both of Major League Baseball and of Scott Boras, said all 5 teams are in it. Imminent days. Maybe before the winter meetings. I already told you he's not signing before the winter meetings. The winter meeting starts Sunday. Scott Boras needs to meet the media with Juan Soto still unsigned. It will blow my mind if he signs today or tomorrow. It'll truly shock me. Once he even agrees with the team, he needs to do a full physical. So word is going to leak out at some point, even though physicals we can keep pretty tight. We do physicals where the player is snuck into the hospital and basically in and out of machines, and nobody sees it. It's not like they sit in the waiting room. Hi, it's Juan Soto. Hey, what are you doing here? Yeah, MRI in the shoulder, knees, head, and toe. Juan Soto, come on back here, please. Not how it happens. They go right in the tube, meet with the cardiologist, ophthalmologist, endocrinologist, proctologist, anesthesiologist. All right, he passed. We can leak it. Do you know when you don't do that with players is when you so badly overpay them? And I've told you this story of the number of players we overpaid where they didn't even visit the city. They don't meet with the owner. They don't care about anything. I would like all of us to picture right now Luis Severino's negotiation with the Aths. You see, the Aths signed Luis Severino yesterday to a 3-year contract for $67 million. It can't be true. It can't be. He was given a qualifying offer for 21, turned it down, got a 3-year deal, at 22.3, really. Not a one-year deal at 21. This is Luis Severino. Good bounce back year. Had a good year. No question about it. His stuff can be filthy and nasty. Let's tell the story about why the Aths signed Luis Severino and why they chose him to be the face of now what is the biggest contract ever given by the franchise. And I don't mean the Sacramento Aths. I mean also the Oakland A's. Every iteration of the Oakland franchise. There's never been a player to get a bigger contract. I dare you to remember 20 years ago who got the biggest contract. It's sort of like in the old days when the Pirates had Kendall as their biggest contract, and people were like, Kendall? Why Kendall? And I'm like, because they got a new stadium and they felt like they had to spend money on their catcher at the time. Well, in Oakland, the biggest contract was with this guy, Eric Chavez. He was good, don't get me wrong. A well above average Major League Baseball player. In 2004, he got $66 million from the Oakland Moneyballs. That's it. No one's been higher ever since. I'm of the opinion you sign guys to higher deals and then trade them, because then your organization is not amongst the list of people who don't give out high contracts. There should be a separate spreadsheet that the media can release, which is who pays for the big contracts that the small revenue teams sign to look cool and then end up moving those players along, like Texas did with A-Rod, like we did with Reyes, as an example, or Delgado. Numerous players. But anyway, why would it happen that the Sacramento Aths would want Severino at that number, which is such a gross overpay? He didn't have 3 years from anybody. I will bet you a donut to my dollar that he wasn't comparing 3-year deals. And the Aths went so far over the top past what anyone thought, because they've got a couple of issues at play. One is a union issue. Every year, the union files a grievance against certain teams who are not properly using their revenue-sharing money to improve their Major League Baseball product, their team. Every year, we'd have to submit, hey, here's our revenue sharing. Here's what we spent it on. Look at us go. We lost money, so we needed more revenue sharing. Our payroll was too high. The 1 year that we were forced to sign a player, we signed Josh Johnson. And we did that as a favor to the commissioner's office because they needed a pound of flesh from a team because the union was filing a grievance against so many teams. And we wanted to sign Josh Johnson anyway. And so it all, because he was going to be our opening day starter in our new ballpark, it all worked out perfectly. No issues. The Oakland I did it again. Actually, not again. That's the first time. 4869. The Aths needed to spend money, not just because of the union issue, but also they want to be seen as spenders in their new temporary city, Sacramento, and that it's not business as usual. And that's why we had to leave Oakland. We couldn't sign players like this. Now that we've left them, the checkbook's open. Things are going to be totally different in Sacramento and in Vegas, I promise you. What a perfect opportunity. How do we get a player to play in Sacramento? There all sorts of articles were written. Who would want to go to Sacramento? Who would want to play in Steinbrenner Field all year long in Tampa? Who would want that? Never been a player. Never. Not one. I don't care what they tell you on their social media or publicly or privately. If you want to overpay in years and total dollars, the players will play in Scranton. And I would too. This is not me saying players shouldn't do it. If I'm Luis Severino and I'm offered 67/3 by the Aths, I don't need to visit the new makeshift clubhouse in the outfield in Sacramento. I don't need to meet the realtor to look for a place to live. I don't need to ask what's happening with the Vegas ballpark. I don't need anything. Funny coincidence, if the Vegas ballpark opens on time in 28, here's who won't be your opening day starter, Luis Severino. Coincidence? 3 years? The same 3 years they're going to be in Sacramento for the 5, 6, and 7, 25, 26, 27 seasons? There's no coincidences in Major League Baseball or in any business. There's always a backstory. It is no coincidence that yesterday there was a vote in Vegas that approved several of the contracts that I've been talking about for, is it over a year now? They approved the lease, the non-relocation, and the development agreements. In theory, clearing hurdles. The A's are moving to Vegas. I didn't have it. I've been on the island the whole time that the A's were going to move. And the people I spoke to in the industry said, hey, they're moving to Vegas. And I said, I don't quite understand how they're going to build a ballpark for $1.5 billion. I don't know how it's going to be financed. And I certainly don't understand how it's going to fit. Then, of course, we heard that the ballpark is $1.75 billion, but the A's have the money. Then we heard yesterday after these votes, we heard the Oakland A's stadium rep. We actually heard him say, listen, the price may go up even more, but we got you covered. Look at these fantastic letters of recommendation from the bank showing how rich our owner is, that he's got the finances to cover whatever the nut is for the private financing of the stadium. Don't you worry. Don't worry your little heads, Luis Severino. You're going to get paid no matter how much money they have to put in the construction fund. It's all going to work out. Literally, that was a quote. I mean, the first part about how, yeah, the cost could go up. The timeline could be lost. We could be looking at 29, not 28. But don't worry. We're also going to do our best to create a great ballpark and manage the costs the best we can. Well, I think they need to hire a different person to build their stadium because you could manage the costs completely with discipline, with intestinal fortitude, with some sort of plan. There is one little nugget about the A's situation that was not really focused on. There's still an agreement to be done with Clark County. That is the county, and it's something called the development agreement. A development agreement is actually the entire issue with constructing a stadium. Now, it's very nice that they got the non-relocation deal done. That is a very simple agreement where you agree not to relocate. There's likely a flip tax in there if Fisher sells the team in the first 5 years because of getting public money for a stadium and has a huge increase in the worth that he would owe a tax to the county. That would be in the non-relocation agreement. A lease, it's them leasing the ballpark. There's some details about operations in there. It's very important. Very, very important. And by the way, the stadium authority approving these things is not nearly as critical as Clark County. We went through myriad approvals to get our ballpark built between 09 and 12. And I am not saying that a deal is not going to get done in Vegas. I am definitely saying that I may have gotten this one wrong, and I'll wear it when I do. The minute that there's a shovel in the ground, a real shovel, not a ceremonial one, and the minute the Aths move from Sacramento, I will say that I was wrong. But you've got a serious problem there. You still have a problem with the size of the ballpark. You have a problem with the acreage allotted to it. You have a problem with the lack of understanding of financing. And it is not enough for me that you got U.S. Bank or Goldman Sachs to give you a statement saying that John Fisher has the money. It's not enough. If the public is being responsible about its contribution and about the project, you have to have proof of financing before there's a vote on a deal. It's not proof of concept. It's not, hey, I promise we'll do it. Don't you worry. We're contractually obligated to do it. It is proof of financing, not in the form of a letter. It's in the form of a construction account being funded. Doesn't make it abnormal. It's a positive update for Oakland. I did it again. This is going to be tough for people, I promise you. It's a positive day for the Ass. They got a number 4 to 5 starter, and they got some agreements signed and agreed to. Yippee-ki-yay. Can you imagine that they're going to enter the Vegas market with the Golden Knights, with the Raiders, with the Aces? And their view is that that is a market that can withstand and produce, according to the pro formas they have, where thousands of tourists a day will go see it. Maybe if they have a Dell plane, feels a little bit more like Barry Manilow. I love you, Barry. You know that. I've been waiting for a weekend for New England my whole life. So these stadium deals keep coming up on our show because new things keep happening every day. Yesterday in St. Petersburg, which is Florida, the city council, St. Petersburg Council met, and all of a sudden the internet was ablaze. The city council has agreed to float the bonds. The Rays Stadium is a go. Everything's great. All the fighting and posturing and the letter writing campaigns, it's all done. The St. Pete Council voted 4-3 that they will approve the bonds required to fund the stadium in St. Pete for the Tampa Bay Rays. That's great. We had to get approvals from the city and the county in Miami. With all due respect to the city, the only vote that mattered was the county. We worked hard to make sure we get the city vote. We worked hard with the mayor, with the manager, with the chair of the city commission. But getting the city vote was fun. It was important, but it was hardly dispositive. To have a done stadium deal, you need Pinellas County, and nothing has changed from yesterday to today. No matter what articles are written, nothing has changed. In fact, the St. Pete mayor himself said, hey, I'm optimistic about a deal. If you vote as a commission to approve a deal, then you vote to float the bonds, there can't be any messaging out there from anyone in public of anything other than certainty. But there can't be certainty because on one hand, you had the Tampa Bay Rays writing a letter and being visibly and orally in writing in every way telling you that, hey, what was done before, that doesn't work for us anymore. And that's not a great position for a team to be in. So the Tampa Bay Rays didn't even show up to this city council meeting. Of course, then they were excused. It was told they were never going to be there in the first place. I can't imagine a commission meeting where they are floating your bonds, where they are agreeing to do something that they're required to do that is a final step toward your construction. Hey, I'm busy. I'm passing out turkeys. There are people who believe that what happened in St. Petersburg is simply not a step toward building the stadium. It's a step toward calling the bluff of the Rays. Hey, we're ready to float the bonds. Are we good? This agreement's still in effect. You said it yourself. We're following the word of the law, the word of the contract. We're within the four corners. The fact that you have to open in 29 versus 28, that's your own problem. Get the guys to work 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, pay some overtime, and this building can be ready in 28. The fights that are taking place between the Rays and the city council and the county commission of Pinellas County, based on my experience, are significant. The dealings with each of the commissioners trying to land on a place where the Rays would actually get their bluff called and be forced to do a deal in St. Petersburg, chef's kiss, I'm here for it. I want to see it. I actually do want to see Tampa stay in St. Pete. I do want to see the Aths move to Vegas because then we can finally stop talking about it and get to expansion and radical realignment and maybe the Golden at Bat. So you're going to keep getting these updates. The county of Pinellas meets on December 17th. December 17th is roughly 11 days from now. It will be interesting how the Rays react to that. I can guarantee you that the Rays will have presence at that meeting. They have to, because they've got to be prepared for what to put into the record and what to tell the media if the bonds don't get floated by the county. And they need to prepare to stand up in unison and in unity with the county when the county, if they approve the bonds. Either way, you got to be there. You hear that, Matt? You got to go. I'm sorry. It's right in the middle of Christmas break. I hear you. All right, let's take a break, Coke. When we come back, I'm going to review a movie by the guy who did Castaway and Back to the Future, Robert Zemeckis. Hi, my name's David. It's Friday. Thank you. 4/12/69. We're going to review a movie starring Tom Hanks and Robin Wright called Here. And then something happened in North Carolina that I assume that everybody believes is a joke, as I did. But on the other hand, does anything Bill Belichick do, is any of it jocular? We'll be right back. Welcome back to Nothing Personal. It's David Samson on a Friday. Thanks for the week. I love all the photos you've all been sending me of going on the merch store, but don't go on today. Get ready for the merch sale for Christmas and Hanukkah. But you can go on if you want to look at our top 100 movies or our picks of the day or words of the day or all the movies we've reviewed. I would appreciate that. But I also love the pictures you're sending of this list of podcasts you've listened to, and it's always an honor to see that. So thank you. Keep sending those as well at David P. Samson. I'm watching a movie every day as we head into the plan, just to give you all a heads up where we're headed. And I don't mean like every move I'm making, but next week, Miami, the week after, our final week of shows for the season. And then for the last 2 weeks of December and the first week of January, before January 6th, we're going to have some great sit-downs and mailbags. Believe me, we will have a show for you just about. Is it every day, Coca? I think we'll have a new show every day except Christmas and New Year's. We'll find out. Stay tuned. But in the meantime, no matter where I am, I'll still be watching a movie. So this movie came out and it got panned. It's called Here. Tom Hanks, Robin Wright, reuniting the entire Forrest Gump sitch with Robert Zemeckis. Are you kidding me, Coca? Could you tell me how to pronounce it, please? Zemeckis? That doesn't sound right. He's directed all these amazing movies that I love. Castaway, one of my all-time movies, where he filmed the fat Tom Hanks Castaway, took a break for a year. Part of the deal was the studio let him do it so he would film another movie in between the break while Tom Hanks went on a weight loss campaign. And he filmed a movie called What Lies Beneath with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer. Then came back, went back to Fiji and did Castaway, second part, with him being all thin. Forrest Gump, another obviously award-winning movie. So bring back Robin Wright and Tom Hanks. This movie is quite something. It all takes place in a room, in a house. One camera, one room. And it's through the years. And it's not a normal like, oh, Tom Hanks looks young, then he looks old, even though there's a ton of that. We've got to get better technology. The whole Irishman thing, I'm out. It's too freaky. It's too AI-like. What can be done that makes Tom Hanks look so young? It's just weird. It's even weird how young they made Robin Wright look, to tell you the truth. And Robin Wright, Princess Buttercup, Santa Barbara, come on. So think about your house where you are right now, or literally, doesn't matter, wherever you are. Now think about what was in that space 50 years ago, 100 years ago, 300 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. Don't care about your religion, actually. And if you don't believe that, whatever. Just the point is dinosaurs, asteroid, cavemen, Benjamin Franklin, Constitutional Congress members, the Wild West, the Wild East, an apartment building, your grandparents, your parents, then you. It's weird to think about. I never had once actually spent a minute of my time thinking about, I wonder what was on 69th and Park prior to this building. Just never had. The movie, as a thank you to Bob and as a thank you to Tom Hanks, give him your $9.99 and watch it. It's not the best movie. It is not. It's mediocre with a capital M, but they deserve my hard-earned money because they've given me entertainment year in and year out. Entertainment. I'd like to do a skit for you. We haven't, we're live, so we haven't rehearsed this skit yet. But it's the skit where I walk and talk super slow. And I've got a little cane. And on my left is a candy cane, a little arm candy, a little 23-year-old vixen walking into North Carolina. Hi, My name is Bill Belichick. I want to coach your team. Are we kidding? That's a fine. Are we kidding? Came out yesterday that Bill Belichick, 72 years old, and I'm not age shaming anybody. I want him to coach again. I want him to be in the media. I want him to do anything he wants. I mean, for crying out loud, that's me in the year 2041. I want to be sitting here with you, obviously. It's only 16 years. In February, 15 years. How does that interview go? Hey, I'm the athletic director of the University of North Carolina, and Bill, we're so happy you're here. Can we get anything for your friend? I'm happy to do anything you want. You want some cotton candy? Hey, how do you feel about recruiting? NILs, it's just like running a regular football team. We just have to, I need a payroll for your team. That's all you got to do. We'll give you a helicopter. We'll give you a plane. No problem at all. We got to work with NILs. We got to pay the players. Yeah, it's not, the most important program in the world, but we just fired Mac Brown, and Mac Brown was older than you are, so you're going to come in here like a spring chicken. You got 12 months on Mac. It's literally absurd. Do you think that that's what, does Bill Belichick look at Bill Cowher and Herm Edwards and some of the other people who have segued into media? John Gruden? Though John Gruden hasn't really segued, he's been thrust into media at Barstool, trying to figure out how quickly he can get out and get back into coaching. But many of the guys are like, this isn't so bad. I wonder if Bill thinks the same thing. I wonder, I don't have to deal with all the crazy front offices. I don't have to deal with the players, the middle of the night phone calls when a player is involved in some nefarious activity. I can sleep like a baby with my new girlfriend crying up every 3 hours every night. It's great. Or is his ego only satiated by being in charge of a program and he knows that he's aged out of the NFL, likely not to get a job, could barely get interviews last offseason? Either the owners view him as over the hill or loyal to Robert Kraft, and it's certainly not the latter, given that Kraft can't even get himself into the Hall of Fame. So it's more likely the former. And this is not a negative toward him. Who could blame him for thinking he can still coach and for wanting to still coach? I'm all in. Raise your hand right now if you're at David P. Samson or at the Nothing Person with David Samson YouTube channel and you're watching this live, or if you're at DraftKings Network. On 3, we're going to do like a survivor reveal. The reveal is 1 finger if you think he's serious about coaching North Carolina, and 2 fingers if you think this is an absolute joke. And we're going to reveal on 3. And for the audio audience, do it too. I'll tell you what I revealed. Remember, 1, he's going to coach. 2, he's not. We're all doing a wait to see. We're doing a company-wide, a show-wide. The entire audience is doing a wait to see. We'll put up the poll on my X. I'll put it on, we'll try to find a way to get it on Instagram, but I'll definitely do it on X at David P. Samson. Will Bill Belichick be coaching UNC next year? Ready? And reveal. Boop. Ew, David, you put up a 2. You're damn right I did. I guess I'll make it my official wait to see, Coca. Bill Belichick will not be coaching UNC. Oh, I had it. 4869. Wait to see. When we tell you something's going to happen, if it does, great. If it doesn't, fine. Bill Belichick will not be coaching UNC next year. No chance, toilet pants. DavidSamsonPodcast.com. Very comfortable shirts and sweatshirts. You know who else won't be coaching UNC? Eric Bieniemy. Do you remember that name? We covered him a couple times on this show. He was the head coach in wait for the NFL. He was the offensive guy under Andy Reid. He was going to get all these opportunities to be the head coach, and he interviewed, and he never got coached. And then he was not part of the Brian Flores lawsuit. Is there discrimination? Is he the token minority interview? What's happening with Eric Bieniemy? Well, don't worry. He landed on his feet. He went to UCLA to take over the offense, and it was an abject disaster. UCLA's offense, stinky. I don't mean just slightly stinky. I mean like 126 out of 134 stinky. Bad, Super bad. When you see the PPPF rankings, the poor guy, hi, John Cocktoaston from the Ohio State. And right underneath it says PFPPR rank 104 of 110. Ooh, that can't be good. Hi, Dr. Rosen, tight end, University of Wisconsin. 2 out of 64. Hey, hell yeah, he must be good. UCLA offense, 126 of 134 in points per game. Ugh, that's really not quite good. 117th in total offense, 328 yards a game. They were the anti-Miami, although they and Miami will be doing the same thing this year, watching the college football playoff. Yesterday, we had a statement from Eric Bieniemy's agent, Jason Fletcher. Jason, get some media training. This statement is outrageous. Here we go. Eric and UCLA mutually parted ways today as previously planned. Who are you kidding here? Tell me. You previously planned to mutually part ways? Why didn't you mutually part ways the minute you previously planned it? Why did it wait till today? Was there a reason? Was there a big recruiting visit? A big NIL collective meeting? Were you just in talks about whether or not it would be mutual? And then you realized, oh, we could make it mutual. Please let me say it was mutual, as opposed to UCLA totally canning my client, who now can't get a job in the NFL, certainly not a head coaching job, took a coordinator's job in college football, mucked it up, and now his star is so faded, there's nothing to talk about. But he kept going. The agent wanted to make it clear in the second sentence, he's still getting paid by the Commanders. Objection, non-responsive. UCLA just fired you. Do you think that they fired you because it was made easier to fire you? Oh, you're going to have a great time. Don't you worry. You're still getting paid by another company, another team. We don't feel badly. You don't need our money. That's the second sentence, still getting paid. Irrelevant. After interviewing for head coaching jobs last year, he wanted to stay active and busy. What that means is, after not getting any of the head coaching jobs that he either was allowed to interview or not even allowed to interview for, he said, I still need a job. I don't blame him for that. You want to stay relevant. But the agent kept going. The plan was always to return to the NFL in 2025, and he's looking forward to the opportunities ahead. Yahtzee. Spoiler alert. Eric Bieniemy had a 2-year deal with UCLA. He was under contract for next season. And so the plan was always to return to the NFL in 2025. Then why'd you do a 2-year deal? Why wouldn't you have just done a 1-year deal? Is it like a baseball luxury tax thing? They wanted to spread out the guaranteed money to you. They couldn't raise it all from the boosters and NIL collectives, so they had to spread it to 2 years, and then we'd mutually agree that you wouldn't do the second year. What I want to read from the agent is, yeah, he had a year left on his deal, and we had a mutual agreement to part ways, which means he won't be getting the full amount of his salary. That's what I want to hear. Did he buy himself out of the second year in order to be available to be a head coach? Because I've got a surprise for you, Eric, and your agent. You can become a head coach while being a coordinator in college. They'll find you, they'll interview you, and they'll hire you if you are worthy of being hiring. The whole thing, it's laughable, truly laughable. How does it end? With tears and a journey, as they all do. Eric Bieniemy will not be back in the NFL next year. But he had a good year at UCLA. Speaking of college football, Coca?
You know what I want? I want to talk to Samson.
So you want to talk to Samson? Get into my X with 11 minutes to go until the weekend, lover boy. Hello, David. First of all, you were my number 2 podcast this year. I appreciate that, but I'm doing the question because it's a great question. But number two, there's winning and then there's losing. Thank you for all the content. You're welcome. It's tiring. Secondly, but let's not quibble. Second, why is SMU even playing this weekend? Oh, you got me. You had me at hello, David. SMU, remember, we talked about the CFP. We talked about SMU playing Clemson. We talked about the fact that if SMU plays Clemson and loses to Clemson on Saturday, and they're only a 2-point favorite, but if they lose to Clemson, there is a scenario that SMU is jettisoned from the playoff altogether in order to keep Alabama. And remember, we told you that Ward Manuel, the athletic director for Michigan, who incidentally just got a 5-year extension, so don't you worry, he's going to be around for a long time. He said as head of the committee, we will not hold it against any team who doesn't play, but if you do play, it can be a data point for what we do. Then why in God's green earth would anyone play a conference championship game? So Yahoo Sports and Ross Dellinger said, let's write about this. Let's talk about this. And the thought was that they found a few people who believe that conference title games in college football are on their way out. And then I'm reminded about my esteemed colleague, John Skipper, and the Sporting Class show that we do. A new episode is out, I assume now, if not soon, under your Pablo Torre Finds Out feed, under the Le Batard show feed, also available on YouTube. Having more teams in the CFP means having more games. Having more games means more money and a better chance to have an ROI for the broadcasters. So, of course, the broadcasters would be interested in more teams involved. Make it 16, not 12. But what's interesting to me is that in the old days, like only 5 years ago, there were broadcasters doing deal with conferences where they were guaranteed meaningful conference title games that they had the exclusive rights to, and that these conference title games were almost like playoff games. They would be very informative into your bowl situation, into whether or not you'd have a chance to win the national championship or be one of 4 teams who had a chance to win the national championship. It mattered, and people came to play. If I'm the coach of SMU right now, I'm ranked number 8. I'm about to play the 17-ranked Clemson team. I'm just wondering what I'm telling my players. How important it is to win the game? Is it important only because if they don't win the game, they won't be in the CFP? And therefore, if they do win the game, they're in the CFP, in the position they're in. Therefore, this is like a playoff game. Therefore, it's important. That may be true of SMU Clemson. What about the other conference championship games? I think there's no question that there's going to be a realignment with college football. And the realignment is going to be that all of these conference championship games are going to have to take on a look where they are part of the CFP conversation, not just in an allocation of dollars way, but in a stamp of import way. People like Brett Yormark, who's the Big 12 commissioner, he came out yesterday and he said, listen, I don't understand the whole CFP process. It's all hogwash. I just know, and he said this to reporters when he was on a call with them, he said a conference champion needs to get a first-round bye if you are a Big 12 team or one of the core Power 4, not the group of 5, the Power 4, the Power 5. Why exactly would Brett Yormark, the Big 12 commissioner, try to be giving more import to the conference championship game? Because they get to sell the rights to the conference champion game, and they get the money, and they get to distribute that to their member teams. And that's how you say that your commissioner is doing well and your commissioner gets a raise. Of course, Brett Yormark of the famous Yormark family would want it to be very clear that conference championship games have to matter. Because the minute you pick away at those games, you are hurting the value that can be monetized by the individual conferences. This story is not over yet. The push and pull that's going to happen between the CFP and the conference title games, which take place this week, it is going to hit a boiling point, and then you're going to see change made. Just you wait. Did anyone shop the Lions line to get to -3? Remember we said it on the show yesterday? Now that we're 163 and 175 because we didn't shop the line and we went Lions -3.5. and we ended up losing because the Lions won by 3 on another walk-off field goal by their kicker. There's video, Coca, of Dan Campbell post-game doing the post-game balls, giving a speech to his men. I found it to be outstanding. I believe in torturing myself for just in general, whether it's guilt or whether it's when I'm wrong about something. I don't want to have people forget about it, which there are people in my life who may represent me who ask me, Coca, on a consistent basis, why do you have to bring up corrections? And why would you ever admit that you were wrong about a take? Just have the take. And if you're wrong, have a different take the next time. No, that's not me. I think that's why you love the show. I told you Dan Campbell would be an abject disaster. And I'm going to keep reminding you that I've said that because it's just wrong. He is quite a leader. And they've put together a team in Detroit that has won 11 games in a row. They're 12-1. They find ways to beat good teams. They beat bad teams. Took another step to the Super Bowl. Can you not imagine the Lions in the Super Bowl? Because I can. Pretty damn easily. I should have gotten the other half point. Dang it. Can you believe that Giannis is 30 years old? I cannot. He's not a spring chicken anymore. You better watch those ankles. The Bucks have Giannis going tonight, and they've got Chris Middleton making his season debut. Not a moment too soon. The Bucks have rebounded from their poor start in a way the Sixers can't and haven't. The Bucks are now a game over 500, recognizing that you can fool around during the regular season, but you got to make sure you're not in the play-in tournament if you're Milwaukee. They're getting 7.5 points in Boston. And I like Horford. I really do. I think the Celtics are likely the best team in basketball. I'm not giving 7.5 points to the Milwaukee Bucks because on any given day, Giannis can just make you look bad. And if Dame hits his shots and Middleton comes back and all of a sudden he's chucking and ducking, the Bucks could actually win outright. Tonight, we're taking the Bucks plus 7.5. We've got picks for a Saturday and Sunday as well. We have SMU -2 over Clemson. Why am I taking SMU? The better bet is to take Clemson and to say, hey, let's do chaos. Have Clemson win, move SMU out, keep Alabama in, and watch everyone lose their mind. But if SMU wins, Clemson's out, SMU's in, Alabama stays in, and everyone's fine because SMU deserves to be in. SMU -2 over Clemson. God, if they push by winning in the 8th overtime, I'll lose my mind. Sunday, I will be in Miami. For those of you listening to this in Miami or you want to drive down, there's a watch party at Vivo at Dolphin Mall. I will make an appearance there. That is my current thinking, my current plan, to make an appearance with Lebitard and some of the other members of the container. We've got a Jets-Dolphins game. You'll all be rooting for the Dolphins, and I'll be sitting next to Stu Gott saying, hey, I took the points. Did you? The Jets and Aaron Rodgers and his new documentary are getting 5.5 points. Who's excited for that? Raise your hand. I can't wait. Middle of December, I get about 3 episodes. Is that what it is, Coca? Of Aaron Rodgers' new documentary, where I think the plan is that I'm going to do Awanaska while watching the documentary. I think that would be exciting. Jets plus 5.5 versus the Dolphins. Those are my picks of the day. I want to end the week on a nice, funny story, a great story. There's a friend of the show. His name is Eitan Levine. Eitan Levine is a writer. He's a comedian. He's written for The Daily Show, Late Night with Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel. He is an amazingly talented man. He is a fan of Nothing Personal. He came to our live show. He just cut a deal. Are you ready? Can you imagine being a Jewish player at BYU? I'm in. One of like 3 non-Mormons at the whole school. And he happens to be the starting quarterback on the team, and they've had a great year. His name is Jake Retzlaff. He's a nice Jewish boy. He's not a Mormon, but he's at BYU. And Eitan Levine just got him an NIL deal. This is not your normal NIL deal. Bless his heart, it's with Manischewitz. If you don't know Manischewitz, then you don't know wine. and you don't know matzah, and you don't know gefilte fish balls, and you don't know Passover cakes that are so good that you can taste it even without taste. Manischewitz came out with this statement about how great it is to support this Jewish player on BYU, the quarterback, and nothing personal has been promised free matzah by Eitan. What could be a reason not to be excited about these NIL deals where these players are finding creative ways to get paid? It doesn't matter if you're Jewish, if you're Mormon, if you're Christian, if you're at Notre Dame or SMU or Miami. It's just business. Have a great, safe weekend. See you Monday. This is Nothing Personal.